Hello and welcome back to our program. And today for our first guest we have Claire Besley, who's an emotional health expert and talking to us about emotional health today. And so Claire, why do you think that there's an epidemic of anxiety and depression in Australia?
I think that's a great question. Obviously it's rampant, we all know about it, we all either had it or we know someone else who's had it. The reason that I think the epidemic is as big as it is and why it's continuously growing and not reducing is because we're living in a society where we're actually taught that to be angry or to be sad or to be disappointed is unhealthy. And so what we do is when these emotions come up, instead of actually allowing them to process, we push them back down, we judge ourselves for having them, and we try not to feel them. And whenever we don't allow ourselves to feel our emotions, they actually build up inside of us and they can get to a point of being uncontrollable. So we can have a panic attack, as an example. So I think that the reason that this epidemic is growing and not reducing is because we are approaching it from a medical perspective of what can we do to reduce it by giving you a tablet, rather than going, how can we help you to efficiently process emotion so that it doesn't build up to the point where you're needing to go to hospital.
And so then what would be the difference between emotional health and mental health?
Yeah, there's a very big difference between mental health and emotional health. And I think in society today, we really are talking and focusing on mental health. Personally, I think if we shifted our focus from mental health to emotional health, we'd actually see a dramatic change in results. They would increase rapidly. Mental health is focused on our thoughts, our processes that we're having cognitively in our minds. Emotional health, when we focus on that, we're actually looking at what is the emotions that are building up in our physical bodies. How much emotion is repressed in our physical body. So when we focus on the body and the emotions in there and we actually learn to release them in a healthy way, the mind clears on its own. So the current approach to let's solve everything from the focus of the mind is treating us as if that's all we are, whereas if we approach healing and becoming well from a focus on emotional health, then the mind actually resolves itself and we kind of kill two birds with one stone. So there's a huge difference, and that focus must shift to one of emotional health if we want to have much better results and a healthier nation.
So what do you think we can do to help resolve that situation?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Look, it's actually incredibly simple. A lot of the work that I do is actually helping people on a daily basis to release the blocked emotions and beliefs that live in the body that cause illness. So the best thing that we can start to do, number one, as a society, is stop having a negative view of people that are having negative emotions. So when you know someone who's angry or someone who's sad, instead of telling them how you'll get over it, sit with them and say, I know you're feeling angry. How about I sit with you in that and allow you to feel that right through, rather than trying to get you to talk you out of it or tell someone why they shouldn't be angry. We teach them to actually embrace it. It's healthy, it's good, and let's feel it together. And once we have a society where we're constantly embracing every kind of emotion, shame, guilt, sadness, apathy, indifference, once we all learn to embrace each other's emotions, we'll start to process them in a much more healthy way, because there won't be the judgment stopping us from experiencing them, and we'll stop suppressing them because we'll realise that they're valuable.
And Claire, could you give us some examples about that, how this emotional health and the differences there is playing out
Yeah.
for people?
Look, I think, we've got this fantastic Are You OK movement, which I love. But my challenge with it is, if we learn to ask everyone, are you OK? What do we do when they say, no, I'm not? Typically then, we might get them to discuss it a little bit more, and they might say, I'm having suicidal thoughts. I don't really want to be here anymore. That's a pretty difficult thing for someone on the other side of that are you okay question to be able to cope with. And typically our response is, no, you're going to be okay, your life's amazing, I'll help you through it, everything's going to be all right. What I think needs to shift is we actually need to allow people to have these feelings and recognise that they're just emotions. So instead of immediately trying to talk somebody out of experiencing that emotion, maybe it's time for us to say, you know what, it's okay for you to feel like that. And how about I sit here with you and actually we go into those feelings, and how about I feel your grief with you? Because at the other side of feeling that grief is a release. And that person will then quite often shift out of that state and no longer have those thoughts, because the thoughts are just the response to the feelings. So I'd love to see the Are You OK movement extended a little bit to what do we do when they say that they're not okay, and how do we help them embrace what they're feeling, allow their body to process it and metabolize it, so their mind then recognises, actually, no, I don't want to die. this is something I do on a daily basis. I've done this with hundreds of clients now. I don't run away from their pain. I go into it with them and enable them to process it. And I don't believe this is just only something for therapists to do. I believe everybody has a role in this society to help everybody as much and as often as we can. So I think extending the Are You OK to allowing emotion would be the best thing we could do together.
And in the Australian society, that'd be a great thing to incorporate to people to be aware of, that it's okay. It is okay. Yeah. And just relax a little bit about.
That's right. And I think that the challenge is we can't deal with other people's emotions. It's scary to have someone you love or someone you know expressing these horrible, scary thoughts. But the reason that it's so difficult for us is because we're not comfortable with our own emotions. We suddenly feel scared ourselves when someone's saying that to us. And because we don't know how to process and accept our own, it makes it even harder for us to accept someone we love that's experiencing emotion. So the first thing we have to do is start to trust and allow ourselves without judgment to experience our emotions as they come up, and recognise that emotions are beautiful and we need all of them. You can't feel love and joy without having experienced grief and anger. We can't dismiss half of them and only want the others. Life is a balance. And so really understanding, okay, I'm angry today. This is not bad. This is good. Let me feel into it and allow it to move. And then you might even move to courage or joy, and then you'll realise that anger was of great benefit to you. But while we're saying repress it, people end up going out and getting aggressive because it's built up inside. This is the movement that must take place if we want to rid ourselves of depression and anxiety. This must occur.
Well, that's wonderful, Claire. Great to have you on board today. And for more information on Claire and emotional health, then please go to our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break. Welcome back, and now we have Dr. Zara Chelik, an integrative health and wellness expert, and she's talking to us today about gut health. So welcome, Zara. For our viewers, how would they know when somebody's having gut health problems?
Yeah, absolutely. So I normally would recommend and encourage people to pay attention to the physical symptoms. So the symptoms are actually telling us and giving us feedback about what is happening internally in terms of gut health. So certain symptoms could be, and not exactly, but it could be such as bloating, having diarrhea, constipation, flatulence, or also, indigestion, heartburn, things like that can indicate that the gut health is not performing really well.
Okay, so what's important for our viewers to know in that instance?
It is important that we recognise there are symptoms and our physiology is giving us feedback to let us know something isn't right. So consulting with your healthcare practitioner, maybe getting a stool test done to see the root cause of your symptoms. It could be maybe a parasite. Again, it could be maybe candidiasis, overgrowth in the digestive health. The symptoms are giving feedback to let the individual know something isn't quite right. So I will encourage our viewers to get in touch with their body, connect with the body, and recognise the symptoms. Maybe keep a food diary to see what serves them in terms of nutrition and what doesn't. And to, again, consult their healthcare practitioner and get a stool test done and take it from there.
What would you say happens for people when they've got those symptoms?
Well, immune system can be compromised or not functioning, at optimum level. The individual may feel phlegm in the morning, congestion in the nasal cavity, maybe puffiness under the eyes. They may find they are frequently getting colds and flus, or they have inflammation in the body, or the energy levels a little bit low, could indicate to the individual that gut health needs some attention as well.
Right, and that would include tiredness, I suppose, is that?
Well, they could be, but then tiredness could lead, come on from other things as well. So I wouldn't particularly say tiredness, but definitely foggy brain could be one of the things. If the person's feeling, foggy brain or a bit sluggish in terms of energy levels, the gut health again may play a role. Again, it's just more the physical symptoms, that food intolerance, that people think, oh yeah, I'm intolerant, I just, cut this food out. I encourage people to really get to know the root cause. That's what's really important. So we are not really depleted and the microbiome is functioning well and we're absorbing our nutrients. We're not having any deficiencies such as iron deficiency and things like that. In that regards, in that sense, it is important that people find the root cause. So nothing is actually eating our reserves and depleting us from our nutrients.
Would you suggest a particular type of nutrition for people with gut health problems?
Yeah, so again, everyone's bio-individual. I will encourage everyone to connect with the physical body and see what really serves their by individuality, because there is not one particular food or nutrition fits and serves everyone's needs. So it is important that we connect with what we're eating and also seeing how that food serves us. Do we get certain symptoms to let us know that it doesn't resonate with our body? And if that's the case, that may not necessarily serve that particular individual. So bio-individual diet is what I actually encourage people to get onto.
What would be the top tip be for people to bear in mind about gut health?
Yeah, so keeping an eye on your stress levels, keeping an eye on how you are eating. Are you practicing mindful eating? Are you swallowing? Are you a quick eater? They all sort of play a role when it comes to taking care of our gut health. Not to eat with emotions is definitely a good tip because we can go with our emotions and start eating, but it may not necessarily be the right thing at that time. So the body may be telling us something else. For example, somebody could be angry or upset, or stress can be a bit heightened, and they may sort of, go and suppress that with eating. And in that state, when we're eating in that stressful state, in that heightened state, the nervous system is not balanced. The parasympathetic nervous system is not active. The autonomic nervous system is in balance. So if an individual eats in that stressful state, then really they are eating at sympathetic level, nervous system being overactive in overdrive, which doesn't serve the body, which doesn't really serve the digestive health. So I will encourage people to really pay attention to their state when they're eating as well.
Do you have any particular advice for our viewers just before we go to break?
Absolutely. So connect to see what your body is telling you, and it is important that you pay attention and really respect your body, to really connect, to understand that your body is conveying a message to you and that you do respect your body's needs and you act upon those symptoms.
Thank you. And for more information on Dr. Zara and gut health, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. Next time, Dr. Zara will be back talking to us about how to detox your life. Next, we have Steve Hall, our holistic change coach, and he's back with us today talking about knowing yourself. So Steve, why is that important to know yourself?
Thanks, Linda. It's a great question, and I've delved into this a lot over the last couple of years. And why it's important for us to know ourselves is we believe we know ourselves as we go through life, and our beliefs are something that we trust and rely on. So we really think we know ourselves. And what I've learned that really surprised myself, what I needed to find out as well, because it was such a game changer in my life, is there's so much about myself that is in my unconscious or your subconscious that I had no idea about whatsoever, which influenced what I did, it influenced the results I was getting, it influenced how I was feeling about life, whether I was happy, whether I felt like I was in control, whether I felt like I was doing what I wanted to do in life. All these things I never really considered at a deep level, and so knowing myself was so important to me. I think it was Socrates said it originally, know thyself, and it's been mentioned all through history by philosophers up until now, because it is so important that we truly understand what's going on in our subconscious and our conscious, and that they align and take us to where we want to go.
So what does it actually mean then? What does knowing yourself mean?
Yeah, well, this is even deeper. Because what does that look like? Sometimes we think we know ourselves, but what we're understanding is what we believe is true about ourselves, and quite often it's just what we've gotten used to. It's our habit of knowing ourselves. It's what everyone else tells us we're like as well. And in life we can spend a lot of time and energy wondering and worrying what other people think of us, and we try and shape our life in a way that people won't do that. And so sometimes we even end up trying to hide. I think it was Thoreau said that a vast majority of people live their life in quiet desperation because they're never really knowing themselves. You know, they're living lives according to other people and they're not happy. And it's so important that we can dig down to truly understand who we are, you know, and what really lights us up, what brings out the best in us, and what are we here for? You know, what's our purpose? A lot of the time we can get hung up living other people's lives and thinking that's our purpose. But when you really know yourself, you understand why you're here and what you've got to do, which is a whole different feeling.
I suppose we have lots of spoken about now about heart-mind connection. So that brings us more into our feeling space.
Very, very much. And that's when you start feeling that you're getting close to understanding more about yourself. That's when you start wondering about your feelings and your emotions, because here's the good thing about our feelings and our emotions is they're like a warning, or not really a warning system, but a signal system to us. They tell us when we're not happy, when we're not aligned, when we're not living according to our purpose or understanding ourselves. They show up in our feelings. You know, if you're not happy, Linda, if you're not feeling fulfilled, if you're feeling overwhelmed, and all these things that plague us a lot through our lives, these are all our emotions telling us. They're saying, hey, you're not happy. You're not really aligned. You're not digging into who you really are. So take a look, learn to understand who we are, and then take some action to change. And really, when you understand who you are and what core values you hold in your heart and what you really want to achieve, it's sort of the alignment takes care of itself. You start really getting energized to do what it is that turns you on, you know, and it brings meaning to your life. You get out of bed with a sense of purpose, and that's adds meaning to your life. It's the best thing you can do. It's a real game changer.
So the feeling space is that what is it like working out the difference in the feelings? Does that make a difference?
Well, it's understanding. The best thing you can do is whenever you're feeling an emotion, especially if it's one that you wish wasn't there, for example, sadness or jealousy or anger, sometimes we wish them away. Oh, we don't want to experience them, but it's the opposite. Instead of wishing them away, it's like understanding what it is. So first you put a name to it. I'm feeling fear at the moment. Why? Welcome in, and you welcome that feeling. So you own it. You go, this is me sending myself a message. So you welcome the feeling in and you try and understand it. In a moment of meditation or just with your eyes closed, you can ask that emotion, what are you trying to tell me? What are you here for? What's your message? And if you can just relax and allow it to be there, it's quite strange, but all of a sudden you start getting and understanding why it's there. And then you start seeing what it's trying to tell you. It's not trying to control your life, it's just giving you a message. When you listen, the feeling disappears and leaves you with an understanding. Now I understand why it's there. And all of a sudden you start understanding what I need to do so it doesn't keep reminding me that I'm doing something like that. And it starts helping you to take control of your life, to get that alignment I was talking about before. And alignment really is just when we understand what our values are and what our purpose in life is, it's getting an alignment between those two so that our values point us towards what we ultimately want to achieve. And that's all the alignment is. It just means you're going in one direction, all your energy supports you to get to where you want to go. And no longer are you shedding energy left, right and centre in areas that are not going to come back and support you, you know. So the alignment and knowing thyself and feeling your feelings, they're all very important, so important.
And so what would your best advice be for our viewers?
Yeah, look, I've got 3 tips for people who are wondering now after listening to what we've been talking about. And that would be, 3 questions you can ask yourself. What am I here for? What am I really here for on this planet? You know, we each bring something unique. And do you understand what it is about you that is different or special? What is it about you that the world hasn't seen yet? Or maybe even yourself that you haven't really expressed? You know there's more to you, but you don't know what it is. That's question one. Question two would be, what are you most passionate about? Start writing them down. What is it that lights you up? It can be as simple as fun, it can be love, it can be connection, whatever. Just start writing down. Every time you notice something that you really love and you used to love when you were a child, start writing them down and understanding why they're there and include them back in your life. Quite often we put those things to one side. And the third one would be figure out how to apply both these things in your life. Just be more consciously aware of them and ask myself at the end of every day, what am I proud of that I did today and what made me smile? And you go to sleep with that. So when you wake up in the morning, you've got an intention to set. It's like, I'm going to do more of that today. and they're the three things.
Thanks so much, Steve, for that.
Welcome, Linda.
And for more information on knowing yourself and Steve Hall, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And for now, we'll say goodbye until next week.